A woman is going to say, well, I only have 7 out of the 10. I don't think I'm going to qualify. And a man would say, well, I only have 5 out of 10. I'm going to qualify. And this is like a mindset thing. And that's why
you can only do so much on your own. But if we have each other, we could accomplish so much more.
Women move the needle. I mean, look at all the entrepreneurs at American Express said that we're having 42% of entrepreneurs in America are women.
I actually like to bottle my demons on my own.
Which I'm sure you know.
Daily Drip, right?
Yeah, the Daily Drip was there.
Shout out to the Daily
That's
Drip.
That's right. Romy and Nicole, we love you.
Welcome to another episode of the Transform Podcast. If you're here to learn actionable tips on how to transform your health, wealth, and relationships, make sure to subscribe. Selines, thank you so much for meeting me today. I really, really appreciate you being here with me in the podcast. Extremely excited to hear your story. So tell me more about you. Tell me who Selines is.
Yes, well, I am thankful that you are having me on your podcast. Excited. I know we've actually met networking and you know how the world turns, right? Yeah. You know, we have to always support one another.
Absolutely.
That's what I love about you. But again, my name is Selines Silverio. I am really enthusiastic about all women initiatives. I love men, and we love men to support us, case in point. But really driving a message to women that is positive, that is uplifting, and that, you know, we can build businesses together, we can build friendships, we can build a community together. That's my drive.
Absolutely. Yeah. Tell me about you as you, the person.
The person. So I am very passionate. I am very loving about anything in life. I kind of sink my teeth and my hands in. I really love helping the community. That's my drive. You know, my father once said, he passed away about 15 years ago. He said, if you want to know the meaning of life, what the meaning of life is, he says, it's doing things for others. Is helping the community, is being selfless, not selfish. And then from there, you start developing these amazing relationships. Like I'll get into what I'm doing now, but I've developed this love for helping the community. I teach at Camilla's house, financial wellness classes in Spanish and English. I love that organizations. They've been around, as you may already know, like since the 1960s, helping the community at large, right? Combating homelessness. They have a whole UCAM university there. It's amazing. I started teaching there, then I realized, wow, there's a greater need, right, in the community to help. I get my friends, I tell them to get involved, to help me volunteer at different places. I have another organization I like to help, which is Prestige Club of Southwest Broward. That's another organization that helps children with etiquette classes, with, you know, even toy drives and so encompassing. So I get involved a lot with a lot of nonprofits that give back to the community. But then I told myself, well, how can I give back to the community, right? So my business partner and I, Michelle Cava, we started a women's wealth circle network.
Wow.
And it just launched. It's been a month. We just had our first event, which was amazing. We had it at One Tribe, which is another wellness center for women right on Biscayne Boulevard. So we had about 50 people show up.
That's amazing.
Men and women. So Women's Wealth Circle is a network of women. We want to lead with helping women, especially women entrepreneurs, women business owners. We're going to have a component of venture capital. We want to give back to those women-owned businesses. We also want to have these events that are going to cater to also giving back to the community. We're going to choose a beneficiary nonprofit to give back to. We want to have these events as well to cater to educating women about financial matters. Because one thing I'll tell you, and going back to my career, I've had 25 years in the financial industry, financial asset management. And I can tell you there's not a lot of women that look like me, or women.
As a whole, right?
As a whole, right? So whether you're a woman of color or you're a woman, it's hard to kind of break through those glass ceilings in that career path. But the reason why I find is because I've been in this asset management field for so long, actually creating educational content around financial matters. And what I feel, I've been presenting financial education to many corporate accounts, nonprofit sector accounts that we've had. And I understand that women don't know what to ask. and they don't feel comfortable talking about finance. So where do we find a place that we can talk about openly, honestly, and with vulnerability? Because
Absolutely,
I think vulnerability is sexy.
I agree.
I think it's sexy. And you know what's sexier? Learning from your vulnerabilities. Admitting, because nobody's all knowing, right? We need each other. We need each other to discuss these topics like the wage gap. And actually, let me give you some stats. And
Awesome.
this is the driving force
Yeah.
behind my passion.
I like it.
So, and I also sit on the board as I give back to the community. I sit on the board of the Women's Fund of Miami-Dade. And they have a whole lot of stats with amazing stats that drive their passion and their drive to help the community and women and girls at large. But 82 cents on every dollar earned by men. So women earn about 82 cents of every dollar earned by men. And these are the stats from January 2022, right? I also see a lot of stats, and you read a lot of different articles, whether it's Bloomberg or you're online and podcasts. And the other thing that alarmed me too was so we have American Express did a survey, and I do have their card. As of 2021, women-owned businesses represent 42% of all business in America, meaning entrepreneurs. So they generate about 1.9 trillion in revenue.
Almost half all the businesses in the United States are owned by women.
Exactly.
Wow.
So there's a lot of entrepreneurs, and that's why the Women's Wealth Circle wants to cater to propelling their businesses, providing an education platform, providing a community that's going to help and propel their businesses. So when we cater to having events, we're going to cater to bringing up topics that matter, and we're inviting men. So as I said before, we want to include men in these conversations in our events, in our network to support us, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So we did an event 2 days ago.
How did that go?
That was amazing. The topic was, shattering stereotypes, breaking taboos when it comes to wealth building for women. And what does that look like? We had 4 amazing panelists, which I'm sure you know.
Daily Drip, right?
Yeah, the Daily Drip was there.
Shout out to the Daily
That's
Drip.
That's right, Romy and Nicole, we love you. Hearts. But we also had the amazing Tamara, Billy Rodriguez, and Arathi, which is actually a board member at the Women's Fund, Miami-Dade nonprofit. But these 4, and I always say badass women because there's nothing wrong with cursing. They're amazing. I mean, I feel honored that they were our panelists, and they shared a lot of gems, right?
Yeah.
They shared gems on wealth building and what does that look like. So I know that, especially with Tamara, she's like, you have to bring the data. You have to bring the data so that people can understand what the message is and why we're driving it. So I know that, especially with the wage gap, and especially with asking for what you deserve, right?
Yeah.
Like that's another big topic.
So you are bringing me to another section, and you've given it a lot of meat. So I guess I want to stop you there for a minute so that you don't give it all to me. Tell me how. Probably you guys discussed that in the meeting. I'm super sad I could not attend. Tell me how we could close those gaps.
Yes. So by doing this.
Dialogue?
Yes. My darling boyfriend says we have to have more conversational therapy. I'm like, I like that concept, conversational therapy. You'll get to meet him. But I think that we need to start by talking and discussing our pain points. And that's why our network wants to include men, because if we're women talking about our pain points and how to change the community and the mindset, then we have to include men. And that's why we want to drive that message. So we were talking about how can men support women and how can women support women. It's all of us together,
Right.
We have to learn and grow together. So one of the things we discuss is having those open conversations. If you're on the corporate sector, if you're on the entrepreneur, sector, whatever facet of life you choose to, obviously make money, sometimes you have to have conversations. So if you're in the corporate sector, as you know,
yeah, it's inevitable not to have conversations.
And let them pay you your worth. I mean, listen, we're bilingual, trilingual. We bring to the market here, especially this market, you have to be bilingual.
Right.
Every market is different. You have to cater to that market. And how do you gain prospects or clients eventually, right? If you are bringing to the table value to your company, you should have that conversation. with your immediate boss. Say, hey, and then be ready to talk about why you should deserve, a raise. And and now everything is, especially if you go on Glassdoor, you can look at the salary ranges, and we know that, especially in the financial services that we're in, there's a wage gap with women versus men doing the same job.
Okay.
Yes. So sometimes it's hard having these conversations, but it's all about having a conversational therapy so that we can come to a better understanding and a better agreement on what are the next steps. So have those conversations with your boss. Come prepared with data. Know your worth.
Yeah.
And if you're an entrepreneur, same thing. When you're vetting your businesses out to different, whether the corporate sector, nonprofit sector, you need to have conversations with those, potential clients. And sometimes you gotta barter a little bit. But know your worth, even as a service provider, whether it's entertainment or food, catering, whatever that niche is.
There's a bug here. Do you think that the world is moving in the right direction as it pertains to this topic, having better conversations, creating more equality? Are we moving in the right direction?
I think we are moving in the right direction because we are having this open dialogue. We're having this open conversations. Now, the data shows that obviously there's a disparity between the wage between men and women, but we're talking about it, right? And that's what it starts with. And individually, statistically, they say that a man and a woman can look at the same job, right?
Okay.
And the job requires, let's say, 10 qualifications, right?
Right.
So a woman is going to say, well, I only have 7 out of the 10. I don't think I'm going to qualify. And a man would say, well, I only have 5 out of 10. I'm going to qualify. I'm going to apply rather, right? And this is like a mindset thing. And that's why we need to talk about it.
Okay.
Whether the wage gap exists, to change it, what do? We got to teach women, and something I have to learn from myself. So as I'm talking to you, something that I've had to learn from myself is to teach women how to show up for themselves and not to be scared. Because if you are bringing value and quality to your job, whatever that may be, you need to get paid and compensated, fairly.
Awesome. I agree. I agree. Finish that statement. Finish.
Yeah,
you were going to tell me
something
else.
Yeah.
Tell me, because this is a recurring theme in the podcast, how women or men, right? How could we as people become more valuable? What does that mean to you?
More valuable. I think we need to, have conversations and actionable steps. It's like, yeah, we can talk about it, but let's do something about it. Like if I'm learning something, well, how do I bring that to market, whether in my business, my personal life, my business life? And I also say be authentic. That's how we can, kind of bridge that gap. And we were saying this earlier, people do business with people they like and trust.
Absolutely, 100%.
And the reason why they like you is because they trust you and that you're bringing something of value. And I always lead with, how can I help you? I never lead with, how can you help me? You'll get to know me, you'll get to know what I do, how can you help me? Later on, but in the conversation initially, we're like power networkers, right? So how do you engage? How do you engage people? It's just by being kindness.
Of course.
Seeing, hey, how can I help you? And then kind of bridging that gap. And supporting each other. Like, look, you're doing this podcast, which is amazing.
Thank you.
Proud of you. And how do we support each other? Our businesses, our passions, our ventures.
Yeah. Adding value.
Adding value. Yeah,
adding
absolutely.
Value by today helping you share your story and what you're passionate about. I would like to think that one day the world will migrate, at least in my team. I run a team, and in my team, you are compensated regardless of your gender. Anything you do, right? It doesn't matter. You are compensated by the skills you bring to the table.
Right.
If you are a woman and you're crushing it, you're gonna make more money than anybody.
That's amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
So I like to think that in the ideal world, and hopefully the future looks that way, it's like that in every place, right? I really hope for that. So tell me more about you growing up. Give me some of the meat. Who are you in the time that you're just doing fun, doing life? How does that look?
So I've been very passionate all my life about anything. Very outgoing. I'm a twin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I love dancing salsa. That's my thing. So So that you know.
I have 3 feet. I can't dance.
What? No. I'm gonna take.
I'm one of those Cubans that doesn't dance.
I'm taking your Cuban card away from you. But Dominican parents, born and raised in New Jersey, Jersey girl.
Good.
But I've been here forever. I've been here like 17 years in Florida. I've been teaching aerobics all my life. I stopped at COVID.
Huh.
It's something that I did for fun. I could teach anything. Anything you can name, I could teach it.
I could see that.
Yes. I love teaching overall. That's why I teach at Camilla's house. My corporate career has been in education, providing financial education on a corporate level. And I'm very passionate about, driving women's initiatives and helping the community overall.
Yeah.
But I come from a big family. Have amazing friends, which I truly love too.
You are doing a lot of impactful stuff. Talk to me about some of the struggles that maybe you have faced in accomplishing all this, amazing things that you're doing today.
Struggles. Oh yeah, struggles. I just started the Women's Wealth Circle Network. It's definitely, you do have a sense of imposter syndrome sometimes, because you're like, man, should I be doing this? I don't know, how are they gonna react to it? But what I say to that is, just do it. They're like Nike, just do it. Just do it.
That's a great motto, right?
It's better doing it and learning from mistakes than sitting at home twiddling your thumbs, right?
I agree.
So I'm like, my drive is like, nope, just do it. Just do it.
I read a book, phenomenal book by the way, that talks about imposter syndrome, and it's called The Triple Package, and it talks about the 3 traits of highly successful people. I think I've said this story like 1,000 times, but it keeps recurring in the podcast. Trait number 1, you feel you're better than everybody else, right?
Yep.
I feel I'm gonna crush it, I'm gonna accomplish anything I want, I'm gonna go do it. The second one, so these people also have crushing insecurities. At night, they get imposter syndrome when they go home, and they question whether they actually have what it takes. But the third one, the third quality of highly successful people, and what brings it all together, is that they know their mission and the vision, and they have the ability to stay in task and go at it like there's no tomorrow and get it done. Yeah. So I think that illustrates a lot of what you just mentioned, that although you might have these feelings of, am I really qualified? Is this really going to happen? You still find a way to push through and just go get it done, right?
Yes.
So that's amazing. Where does that drive come from?
God,
wow.
Yeah. So as a Christian woman, I can tell you that I have friends from all, beliefs in life. Yeah. And which I genuinely love, and we get along great. But I can tell you personally, as a Christian woman, what centers me is having a relationship with God. What makes me have a more passion and drive for the community and love, my love for God. I attend church at Calvary here in Miramar.
Awesome.
Amazing. And I always love when anybody can teach me something that'll make me better. Like, what centers you, right? I always ask my friends, well, what makes you happy? That's what I'm concerned about. I don't care about your title. What makes you happy? What centers you as a person? Whatever that is, keep doing that. And I can tell you, me personally, it's been my Christian faith throughout my life. My father was a Christian guy. He played the guitar in church, and he's grounded us in that faith, that we're here to, like I said, the meaning of life is what? To help others. Yes. You have to take care of your home and, your family and yourself. Of course you do. But always make sure you're always giving back, whether it's a smile. It's as simple as that. Good advice. And I was looking at this, listening to a podcast talking about the book that you read and those 3 qualities. And they said, whenever you're feeling those feelings of like, I don't know can I do this, or stressed out about whatever, always have like a speed dial 8-minute friend. So if you're going to text your best friend, hey, you have 8 minutes, that means, listen, whatever you're doing, stop. I need to talk to you because something's going on. 8 minutes psychologically can change your mindset from somebody you love to be like, hey, what are you doing? No, we're not going that way. Let's get out of that mindset, or whatever that is. 8 minutes.
That's an amazing tip, by the way. I hope you guys paid attention to that, because that's gold. Maybe something I would implement in my own life.
Yeah.
I actually like to battle my demons on my own, right? When these bad things come up, I just shut down and I try to deal with it on my own. But sounds like an interesting suggestion. And as a matter of fact, today in the morning, I had one of these moments, right?
Yeah.
And I reached out to a friend of mine, and instantly he was able to switch my mindset on this one thing, recommended a book, and I'm like, okay, you took me back to that moment, so I could see the value in that recommendation.
Yeah, because, let's face it, right? The older we get, it's like the more things we have going on, whether it's kids, family, work, life, things, right? And sometimes you just need that reset button, and you need to tell your best friends and tell each other, like, hey, you have 8 minutes, you already know, hey, just call me, just because that's all it takes, I mean, you could talk for longer than that, of course you can, but at least, in this busy world we live in, especially this virtual world of everything, we need that personal touch. We need that conversation,
Relationships,
not texting.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about relationships. This is proof right here of what relationships could do for each other, but tell me, what aspect have relationships played in your life as a whole?
Relationships. So I always drive with loyalty.
Okay.
Loyalty, that's my thing. I think we need to commit to each other. I mean, I love my friends. I love how they love me, and I love them right back. I love the support, like even with the women's wealth circle that we created, the amount of support and love from my friends, male and female, it's been amazing. It's been amazing. And I mentioned this to you earlier. So my boyfriend, he plays the saxophone, and the amount of support that he's given me too, it's amazing to me. I love to love, and I love the fact that I have these great relationships that support me. Because I'm the same way. Remember, I said I always lead with, how can I help you?
Yeah.
So
I think it helps you amplify your message and also your reach.
Yeah.
That's if I have gathered something from having these conversations, is that the more quality relationships you have, the more you could amplify whatever you do.
Yeah.
Why? Because if, for example, you invited me to the Wealth Circle, you understood why I couldn't make it.
Yeah.
But if I would have gone, maybe I would have brought other people. I would have been able to expand and share the mission of what the group is trying to do, which I'm definitely going to do in the future.
Yes.
So I think relationships bring leverage to the table.
Yeah.
You could only do so much on your own, but if we have each other, we could accomplish so much more, because now it's two people sharing the same message, right?
Yes. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Absolutely. Tell me, so you're in finance, you are teaching and bringing information to women on how to become better, acquire new skills, close the gap, the gender gap.
The wage gap,
Right.
between the genders.
Give me a misconception in your field, something that's not real at all, but people keep talking about it as it was a statement of fact, something that maybe you would like to debunk.
Right. So being in the financial investment world, institutional asset management world, that I've been, and I feel blessed, because actually I've been working from home for 22 years.
Wow.
And now is when, after COVID, it was like, oh, working from home. I'm like, I've been doing that.
I've been doing it for the longest.
22 years in corporate America. So I knew from day one I was blessed. I knew. Just traveling around the country, 42 states a year.
Wow.
Meeting amazing people on the corporate and nonprofit side, and teaching financial matters, whatever that, you name it, I can teach it. But something to demystify is that sometimes as a woman, and maybe a woman of color, they may not think, or because you're too girly, whatever that means, because this is things I've heard, and like, oh wow, I heard this guy tell me, and I like him. And this is back a few years back. Yes, I'm very girly, I like the whole makeup thing, yes, that's me.
Yeah.
But I always grew up as a tomboy. But he told me this, a good client of mine, he's like, you know what, Selines, I didn't think, when I first saw you, I thought you were so beautiful, and I didn't think you were just as smart. And I was like, what does that mean? you know, in this financial world. And I'm like, thank you, but yikes, like, Come on now. And then the other thing is getting a seat at the table. So when you're working with on the executive level with some men, not all, because like I said, I love men.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But there's some men in particular that find that you don't belong. You shouldn't have a seat at the table when it comes to having a higher position in this financial career path. And I've encountered that. I've proven them wrong.
Good.
But it's a struggle sometimes, because I think I see it as, you're looking at me as a woman. You're looking at me, maybe as I'm
That's a pretty item, right?
Yeah, Afro Latina that maybe you haven't seen this type of face sitting in these executive boards and whatnot, and you could tell, like, one thing about getting older, like they say in Spanish, el diablo no sabe por diablo sino por experiencia, ¿verdad? So it means that the devil doesn't know because he's a devil, because he has experience.
Yeah.
So and my mom says that too. So I always say, my experience, as soon as I walk in the room, I read the room. The energy, because sometimes and it's okay, like you go to places where you feel like, the energy's off. Or this person is giving me the wrong vibes. And the person doesn't have to be a bad person, it's just that you just don't connect. You just don't connect, and it's okay. You don't have to be apologetic about it, but you're like, okay, well, not in my circle, not in my sphere of networking and creating a better community like you're doing, and just developing friendships. So, yeah.
Awesome. So if I heard you right,
Yeah.
to recap, because this is actually really, really good here. Women are more than a beautiful item in the room. You
Right.
guys are definitely something that's very valuable and could actually bring a strong voice, a tactical, operational strength to any table, right?
Absolutely. I mean, women move the needle. I mean, look at all the entrepreneurs at American Express said that we're having 42% of entrepreneurs in America are women. We're driving
incredible.
business, trillions of dollars, over $1.9 trillion, adding to the economy. We definitely are a voice to be heard, but we couldn't do it without men. I mean, my message has never been like, just women.
Yeah, it's a message of inclusion,
unity,
right?
right.
You want women to, you mentioned
empowered.
it. Yeah, you mentioned it. It sometimes could be just mindset, right? Because at least in my community, in the Hispanic community,
Yeah.
I've witnessed that within my own family. You know,
Right.
like my sister was like sheltered and taken care of, and like be treated like a princess, but then that means that she might not given the opportunity to go and pursue all these crazy things that were demanded of me. Hence now I'm more like wild, and I'm willing to take all these chances and do all this crazy stuff when she's more conservative.
Right.
So working on the mindset, making sure that you understand and empower that you could accomplish anything you want.
Yeah.
You just got to take the leap, right?
Exactly. It's just, I'm involved in so many things in the community. One of them being is chairing a Women Leading Broward program under Leadership Broward. And I sit on the board of Neighbors for Neighbors.
Okay.
So Katie's the CEO, Katie Megger. And Katie, if you're listening to this, forgive me. Shout out to you, but I'm always mispronouncing her last name. But the amazing thing about her, she was a leading lady yesterday, and she said about personal branding, personal mission. And she said, listen, you have to embrace the F word. And it's not what you're thinking.
The future.
The F word is fear. You have to embrace fear, because we all have it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Embrace it. Embrace the challenges that fear may bring. Like we were talking about mindset. And I know even with our event, Arthi was talking about how to become mindful, how to take those 360 exams or quizzes that you can take to realize what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. Embrace those. Embrace that fear that encompasses those things. And move forward, like you're saying. You're like, you know what? I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, screw it. What's the worst that could happen?
Exactly. You're like,
I learned. honestly, unless you die, I had
Yeah,
a friend of
exactly.
mine the other day on the podcast, and unless you die, the worst thing that could happen is that you learn from the experience.
Yeah.
That is it. So
Yeah.
don't go out there and die, but
You gotta live through your fear.
just do it.
Yeah.
Just get it done.
Yeah.
That's an incredible piece of advice, by the way,
Yeah.
from this amazing woman.
Embrace the F word.
Embrace the F word.
Fear.
The good F word.
Fear.
Tell me about the best piece of advice ever given to you. This might have been one, but maybe share another one.
Yeah. So the best piece of advice, especially in doing all these women initiatives and events and such, is to be authentic. And I always say this, like, I will go on an interview for a job and I will be straight up. I'm like, listen, I'm Selines, whether you hire me in corporate America or outside. I don't change. I'm not shifty. I can't be, that's just not me. I will change your tire in my suit if need be. Yes, I can change tires. But the point is, be authentic, be yourself. Whenever you're in a relationship, whether in corporate America, with a manager, with a friend, and you feel like, man, I'm always not being myself. What's going on there, right?
Right.
You gotta kind of have some self-talk, maybe some 8-minute friend, talk.
Conversations. Yeah.
Conversation, to figure out, okay, what's going on here? Because life is too short to not be yourself, to not be your authentic self. Always show up as your authentic self. And what builds confidence? Education. What builds more of that fortitude to be like, I'm going to do this because I can do this. Having a team around you that's supportive, having true friends, right? That see your value and say, hey, let me fix that crown for you and let me add some more jewels to it. Whether you're a king or a queen, let's fix each other's crowns.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Lean on other people, going back to relationships. For a young person out there, women or men,
Yeah.
that they see you as an accomplished professional and doing all these amazing things in boards and sitting with all these powerful people, how can they break through the glass ceiling? What are some of the skills, some of the conversations that must be had, some of the things they need for sure to get done to make sure they get there?
Relationships. They say it's not what you know, it's who you know. And what you know about who you know, that's I stole from my boyfriend. He was on a podcast and he said, I'm like, that was a good one, I'm going to use that. But it's true. Because I can know you, right? And I can say, well, I build a relationship with you, and maybe if there's a job opportunity wherever you're working at, I can leverage that because I've gotten to know you, we network together, we support each other, right?
Right.
So you always want to come prepared. Education is key, no matter what facet of life you want to dive into, whether entrepreneurial or corporate. Know yourself well, right? Know your data. But build those relationships because that's what's going to get your foot in the door. Because at the end of the day, we need each other, right?
Yes.
How do businesses thrive? Because they need people to buy into whatever the product is or whatever service they're providing.
Absolutely.
So if you're going to be peopling, like I always say, you need to learn how to people, So
It's a very important skill. I think that obviously you said it, we are in this world of networking and meeting all this many people. What would you recommend for somebody? Because what I've noticed is a lot of people go and they shake hands and kiss babies, like my boss says all the time, but they cannot really connect, or sometimes they don't follow up. So those connections that you met briefly, they vanish.
Right.
How do you stay relevant?
You want to be consistent.
Okay.
You want to be consistent. So